In this video, I'm going to show you how to prototype the scrolling interaction for a menu screen in a restaurant or food delivery app. There is one flaw to this design though. In an actual app, if you manually scrolled up to say the appetizers tab, it would reflect at the top as the active tab instead of, as you see, it still says specials, but Figma does not seem to make that possible, so we can't do that. With that said, let's get into the video. So these are the screens that we're going to start with. This frame here is one really long frame that has all the menu items divided into categories, and each category is in its own frame, and then the whole thing is in one long frame. So I've named each category's frame specials, appetizers, sandwiches, and so on. It's important for two reasons. I'm going to use a plugin called Select Layers, which is going to select the layers by name. So if the names don't match up, it will not pick it up. And then we're also going to use Smart Animate for the prototyping, and Figma will only Smart Animate to frames that it recognizes having the same name. So if the names don't match up, it won't Smart Animate. So ordinarily, you might just set the whole frame to scroll vertically, but let me show you what's going to happen. The part of the frame that you want to scroll is going to scroll above the section that you don't want to scroll, as you can see here. So I'm going to show you how you can avoid that. So what I'm going to do is put this in a frame. So I'm going to put the larger frame that I called food menu items. I'm going to put into another frame. I'm going to call that menu list. Then I'm going to shorten that frame to the section that I wanted to show up in. So in this case, I've already measured it and it's going to be 533 pixels. So I want the bottom of that frame to sit flush with the top of the bottom navigation bar just there. And then I'm going to clip content so that when I scroll, it doesn't show up outside of the frame that I have just set. Then I'm going to go to the prototype tab and I'm going to select vertical scrolling on that menu list frame. Now you see that when you scroll, the content stays in the area that you want it to stay in. I've already set up that tab bar at the top with the category, so I'll show you how I did it. Let me unclip content so you see what I've done. So it's also got a longer frame that I have then put into a smaller frame, which is the width of the screen, which is 360 pixels. And then I've gone to the prototype tab and set it to horizontal scrolling. So then when you come into the prototype, you see that when I scroll, it moves. So now what we want to do is create a screen for each category. We've got 6 categories of food and 2 categories of drinks, so we're going to end up with 8 screens in total. So I'm going to duplicate this first screen, this special screen, to make the appetizer screen. So what I want to happen is that I'm going to move the larger frame. So basically the first level of frame here is the menu list frame. Inside that is the food menu items frame. So I want to push that up so appetizers comes up to the top where specials is now. Now I could just eyeball it, like do it manually and eyeball it, and so right now I am holding down the shift key and then pressing the up arrow button and just eyeball it, but then I might get it wrong and it won't be exact. So what I did was I've done these calculations already. I calculated the frame above that, which is a specials frame, which is 446 pixels, and then so it's in an auto layout frame. So all the category frames are 8 pixels apart. So 446 plus 8, which is 454. And so I subtracted that from the current Y value of the food menu items frame, which is 0. So the position that is at is minus 454. And then for each other one, I'm going to subtract whatever I calculated from what is existing, and that's how we're going to move it up and have it at the exact position we wanted all the time. So now we have to change the active tab in the tab bar at the top where the categories are. So I set this up earlier with components to make it easier. So what I did was I just created a component with every tab showing when it's active and when it's inactive, and then I gave them a variant name of on or off. So when you go into the variant, you get a toggle bar and you just turn it off or on, and it makes it easier. So I'm just going to turn the toggle on specials to off and turn the toggle on appetizers to on. And then we're going to move on to the next screen. So for this screen and the next few screens, what we want to do is have the active tab in the middle of the screen. I'm going to select the longer frame and just manually move it. This one doesn't need to be accurate, so I'm just going to manually move it and set it in the middle. And then I'm going to turn off the toggle on the inactive, the now inactive, that would be the appetizers tab, and then turn the toggle on to make the sandwiches and burgers tab active. So the next few screens are going to be the same, so I'm just going to speed through that and then I'll be back. So for the last two tabs, we can't center them just because of the position of the tab bar. So we're going to right align the longer frame into the shorter frame so that the edge of the longer frame is flush with the edge of the shorter frame. And then we're just going to change whatever is the active tab for that screen. So now this is done, we're going to start prototyping. We want to set it up so that when you click on a tab, it goes to the appropriate screen. So I'm just going to spread out these screens so that I can work easier. So this is where the Select Layers plugin that I mentioned earlier comes in handy. I want to connect the Specials tab on each of the screens to the Specials screen so that when you click on it, it moves there. Instead of doing this one by one, I'm going to use the plugin to select all of them by name and then prototype them in one go. So I'm going to go to Prototype tab. By interactions, I'm going to click the plus button. On tab, navigate to Specials, and then Smart Animate 300 milliseconds. Now I just realized I made a mistake there. I forgot to rename some of the frames after I duplicated them. Now this is why it's important, because basically when I'm doing this, I'm going to look for the name of the frame that I want to connect to and then connect directly to it. So if you've got 5 different frames that have the same name, you have to hover over each one to figure out, because basically when you hover over a name, it'll show you that particular frame. So you have to go hovering over the different names to find the frame that you want. So you want to just name them, properly, so you don't have to do that. So I'm going to rename them now. I'm going to do this for the appetizers tab. So I'm going to select all the tab bars. Actually, come to think of it, I can actually use select layers to select the tab bars as well. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all the screens, and then I'm gonna open the select layers plugin again, and I'm gonna type in the name of that tab bar, which I called food categories, I believe. So I'm gonna have the plugin select all the food categories layers, and then I'm going to, out of that selection, I'm going to select all the appetizer tabs, and then I'm going to prototype those. I'm just going to speed up the rest of it since it's repetitive. So for the drinks menu, since it's just two categories, we're not going to use select layers. We're just going to click on hot drinks on the soft drinks screen and connect it to the hot drinks screen, and do the same for the soft drinks. And then we have to connect the food tabs at the top of the drinks screens to the special screen, since that's the default food screen. When we want it to be that when you click on the food tab, when you're in the drinks tab and you click on the food tab, it takes you to specials. And we also want it to be that when you're on the food tab and you click on the drinks tab, it takes you to soft drinks. That's the default. So that's how we're going to set that up. So for the drinks, because it's just two screens, we're going to just do that manually. And then for the food, we're going to use select layers to select them all and do one interaction for the whole thing. Now we're done with the prototyping, let's check it out. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the comment section below. And I will see you in the next one.